teaching others, because when I first got into the healthcare field, people overlooked me. I was really a ninth grade dropout who had no education, but I was determined to make something of myself for my baby. So Motor City matched the funds I put into my business. They awarded me $20,000. So now I'm able to focus solely on First Step Healthcare training and give it everything it needs. All because I live in Detroit.
All right, welcome to this edition of In the Conference Room with Mark S. I hope you are having a wonderful holiday season. Happy holidays to all of you. This will be my last edition before the end of the year, as I want to be the one of many to say happy holidays to you. Happy New Year as we go into 2025. That is so hard to believe. My name is Mark S. I'm your host for In the Conference Room. And for the last several years, I want to thank you all for your ongoing support for this outstanding program where we feature business leaders from across the great city of Detroit, the state of Michigan, as well as across the country. And this morning is no exception. I am so pleased to welcome Mr. Paul Barker, and he's the Motown Museum Development Director for a very special occasion that's upcoming. You've all heard something called My Girl. I'm going to unpack that in a moment. Paul Barker, thanks for joining me in the conference room. How you doing?
Hi, good morning, Mark. My pleasure to join you.
It's so good to have you. And let's just jump right into the conversation. Obviously, Detroit is known as Motown. We have the Motown Museum, and there's a song called My Girl. My
Yes.
Girl. And there's an experience upcoming with it. How about the song by the Temptations? Let me turn it over to you to talk about the 60th anniversary of My Girl.
Well, thank you, Mark. We're very excited to celebrate all of Motown's landmarks, but the Temptations' classic song, My Girl, has resonated and almost become Motown's national anthem. And we're so excited that on December 21st, this coming Saturday, marks the 60th anniversary of when that song was first released. And we've got a couple of very special projects in place to celebrate that anniversary. And it starts on that Saturday where we're doing special immersive tours where for the first time ever, we're going to sit down in the studio and have guests sit down and we're going to play the original recording masters for you and dissect the song with one of its architects, Mr. Paul Reiser, who helped orchestrate the string section for My Girl.
And we all know the song. And as a Detroiter myself, I've been down to the museum several times and sit in that famed studio. It's just an awe-inspiring experience to sit there and say the greats were here. And as we think about the 60th year, what is outside of it being 60 years? Why is that so significant so that people understand?
Well, it's significant because, this song, it was even adopted by the Library of Congress for permanent, submission because of its, impact on culture. The song My Girl has been recorded by over 100 different artists from Tony Bennett to the Beatles, many different people. And it over the course of time, it's become the title for a movie. It's become the soundtrack for the movie. And lots of individuals just relate to it. I have a couple that bought tickets for the immersive tour, and it was their wedding song. And to this day, 40 years later, they dance every day on their anniversary to My Girl, and it just speaks to people. And historically, it's our job to tell these great iconic stories. And My Girl, although the first #1 hit for the legendary group The Temptations, came at a very important time for them. The Temptations had a regional hit or a big hit with The Way You Do the Things You Do, but their next two releases struggled a little bit. So Smokey Robinson, the architect for the Temptations' early songs, wanted to write something to feature David Ruffin's vocals. And he had just written a smash hit called My Guy by Mary Wells. And he said, well, I'm going to write My Girl. And he wanted to feature David's vocals. And that's exactly kind of how it came about. And it eventually went to become their #1 hit and led to the Temptations being one of the most foremost respected groups of all time.
Everybody's got a My Girl story. So I want to share with you my girl's story. Way back years ago, I'll never forget. Now, it's a great karaoke song too, right? You can't mess up My Girl. Okay. So I took my kids on a cruise years ago, and they said, "Hey, Dad, why don't you get up on the stage and do karaoke?" I guess I have a decent speaking voice. I can compliment that all the time and all that. But I can't sing to save my life. We can all sing in the shower, of course. So I get up on the stage and I pick My Girl. And I'm looking out at the audience in front of me. We're on a cruise. And as soon as I heard boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 and I froze. I literally froze. And I was so embarrassed that I couldn't even get the words out, Paul. And so here's the cool part of the song. Everybody in the audience, what they start doing,
Yes.
started singing it. And that's my girl moment. Here I am. I speak in front of people all the time, and I'm in front of their face all the time on TV and radio and all that behind the microphone. And I could not get the words out the microphone, but the audience had my back, and everybody sang that legendary song. Truly an iconic
Yeah.
moment for me. Me personally, it's embarrassing, but it was iconic. But it
Yeah.
just shows you the power of that song as well.
I love that story, Mark, and I have to tell you, it's a repeated scenario. Two recent scenarios. I mean, if you were watching the ML, Major League Baseball playoffs, the Mets adopted that song and had the Temptations come perform it because the entire full audience would sing "My Girl" every game. And even recently in our own backyard, I went to go see a Dwight Yoakam concert with the Mavericks, and the lead singer of the Mavericks,
Mm.
Raul Malo, started to do exactly that. He played dum 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 dum, just in tribute of being in Detroit, and the
Yeah.
entire crowd, this country western crowd, is singing at full blast "My Girl," every single word. So they felt pressured and played the whole song.
That's amazing. And so if you're just tuning in, we're talking to Mr. Paul Barker, and he's with the Motown Museum, and he's the development director. We're talking about a very special event that's upcoming this weekend, December 21st, right before Christmas. And it's an immersive experience, if you will, with Migrate. He kind of gave you an overview, but when people go down there, again, what can they expect from this experience? We hear that word immersive. Kind of unpack what that word means for people checking us out today.
Absolutely, Mark. So, normally when you go down to the museum, you go through the museum studio, the original recording studio A, where Motown recorded all these classic hits, including it's a space where My Girl was recorded. But you go in and you see it and you have to move on. This time we're actually going to seat you down and you get to listen to My Girl in the very space where the Temptations recorded it,
Mm.
along with the Funk Brothers. And then we're going to dissect it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to play just the horn section. We're going to play just the background vocals. We're going to play just the band track. Because what a lot of people don't know, Mark, is that the song was originally recorded and it was ready to go, but it was missing something. So Smokey Robinson, who wrote it and produced it, went to Paul Reiser, the company's arranger, and said, "Do what you do best." And Paul, on the spot, wrote these amazing strings, which everybody hears to this day. The da 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 da. And but you're going to be able to hear it for the first time in pieces because the song is so big that it almost, you miss some of the detail. And
Yeah,
during this immersive tour, you're going to be able to hear all the little pieces, like you talked about when you hear the boom, 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 boom. That was not actually part of the song. It was actually
really.
in one of our interviews with Smokey, he talks about Robert White was just rehearsing, walking around the studio going boom, 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 boom. And he goes, "I love that. Make that part of the song."
That's
So,
awesome.
stories like that we will share with people.
And we say we're going to be sharing. Well, who will be sharing those stories?
Sure. I will be in the studio along with Paul Reiser, the famed arranger who worked on My Girl, along with Drew Schultz, our digital historian who helped to pull this all together. And another thing you're going to be hearing in the studio, which is very special, that Motown Museum is producing its first 45 that we're pressing in partnership with Third Man Records, owned by Jack White in Detroit. And we've remastered the song My Girl to pull up some of the elements through technology that were once hidden. So you're going to hear it all over again. And on the flip side of this record is an interview with Otis Williams of the Temptations,
Oh
Paul
my
Reiser, and
goodness.
Smokey Robinson, telling you the whole history of this song. And so we'll be playing that as well for the first time ever.
Now, is that the Legacy Vinyl project?
That is the Legacy Vinyl Project, and it goes on sale Saturday as well. The records are currently being pressed and will be shipped out in January. It's a limited press. There's only 1,500 copies,
That's incredible.
and there's also a special copy, a gold vinyl copy that you will get for free if you join our Motown Museum membership. So we're super excited.
As a native Detroit, I grew up in the city during Motown. A lot of you have heard this story. I've shared it before. I will share it again. My next door neighbor was one of the Four Tops, the original members of Four Tops. I was Aretha Franklin's paper boy. And around the corner from me was Paul Williams from The Temptations, was one of my neighbors. Literally 2 blocks from me. You go further up, it was Marvin Gaye. And all these guys and other individuals lived in my neighborhood. So for someone like me, a native Detroiter, this is truly wonderful to hear. It's an awe-inspiring experience. I grew up listening to the music, and so I'm getting goosebumps, literally, Paul, as we're talking about it. And as we talk about the Motown Museum, talk about this in the context of the larger role of the museum and why this is so important in terms of the museum as it's moving forward. We know there's an expansion that's taking place. Talk about in the larger context of the museum as well.
Uh, I'm happy to do so, Mark. I've been with the museum for almost half my life now, and even now I'm still hearing new stories. But currently, we're limited by capacity. We have these 2 original homes that make up the entire museum, and as you mentioned, we're getting ready to go into the $75 million expansion. Well, actually, finishing it up. It just started this week, and this will expand the capacity, allowing us to tell more of these stories and allow every voice that came through Motown, whether you worked in the mailroom or you were a receptionist or a producer, arranger, artist, to have a voice and tell their story, because there's so many of these stories that were limited in telling by the tour time or by the space. And that's why for the larger vision of the museum, just having these stories captured so that individuals can find themselves in the story and be inspired to go to the next level in their own work as an artist or entrepreneur or anything, because Motown did start up in just a little house and became the largest independent manufacturer of 45 records in the world, and it was done right here in Detroit.
You know, as before we wrap up in terms of the tickets and getting more information, I want to share with you another story about the museum. I actually had some guests in town from Pennsylvania not too long ago, and they walked through the museum. They said, we have to go to the museum. And they did. And again, these were individuals not from Detroit, but they said, we got to go. And they went and they sat there, and you can just see their eyes just glued to the screen and watch the little movie screen, little things, going to the museum and going into the actual studio. And I had the opportunity to go out and visit them recently over the Thanksgiving holidays. And Paul, you're going to love this. They had a Christmas tree up, and on the Christmas tree, one of the ornaments was from the Motown Museum.
Oh,
They
I love
actually
that.
they had a picture of the house, the actual house, as a Christmas ornament. And they said, Mark, can you find the Motown gift? And of course, me being from Detroit, I said, there it is, right there on the tree. So,
I
so
love
the
that.
most, so the museum certainly is huge here in Detroit, but just not in this great city of ours, but across the country as well as across the globe. Give us one more time the details for this weekend's event, the time, the location. How can people get more tickets, and the website as well?
Great. Mark, the Temptations My Girl 60th Anniversary Immersive Tour is taking place this Saturday, December 21st, between the hours of 2 and 6 p.m. Tickets are on sale at motownmuseum.org. And at the same time, the record that we discussed, the 60th anniversary reissue of My Girl, is available exclusively at Motown Museum. And you can find that on our website as well.
Paul, this has been a wonderful conversation. I want you all to go check it out, share this interview, spread the news. This is also for Detroit and beyond. Paul, I want to thank you very much for your time. Good luck with this weekend's event. Keep up the great work down at the museum, and happy holidays to you.
Mark, thank you so much for the opportunity and happy holidays to you. And we hope you come back and visit us again soon.
I will be there for sure. And to all of you tuning in, again, I want to take this opportunity to wish you all a very happy holiday season. Well, make it a great day, make it a great week. We will check you out next time in the conference room with Mark S. Lee. And as always, in closing, because I'm going to say this because the Lions are still hot, although we struggled the other day. It was a close game, but as I always say in closing, go Lions. Happy holidays, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
I love teaching others because when I first got into the healthcare field, people overlooked me. I was really a 9th grade dropout who had no education, but I was determined to make something of myself for my baby. So Motor City matched the funds I put into my business. They awarded me $20,000. So now I'm able to focus solely on First Step Healthcare training and give it everything that it needs. All because I live in Detroit.